Well, welcome back to another week's analysis behind the news. If you love the deal with Iran that Obama has negotiated and his cronies, then you will also like the TPP and the TTIP negotiations. In other words, the Trans-Pacific Partnership and the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership. Now, before we get any further, we have to remind those who watch this broadcast each week that Iran, as we've mentioned in the past, is nothing more than a surrogate of Russia. In fact, when the Shah was deposed with the help of the CIA and the Ayatollah was put in there, that Ayatollah worked with the French Communist Party. The individuals that formed the new military were known as the Revolutionary Guard, similar to China or any of these other places where the communists have taken over. Iran was and remains a surrogate of communist Russia. Now, if you think that communism is dead in Russia, you haven't been looking at what's been going on and the re-Stalinization of Russia. Putin is bringing back Stalin as an icon in Russia. That is a huge clue as to the direction that they're going. At any rate, moving on. Any deal that this international socialist that we have as a president would negotiate would be detrimental to the United States, the economy, our freedoms, our national sovereignty, and that sort of thing. And this Iran deal is not much different with the way that they're trying to get it ratified, so to speak, bypassing Congress and going to the United Nations. Now, it was negotiated by a team of the top five powers, so to speak. In other words, the P5 plus one, which is actually the voting members, the veto power members of the Security Council of the United Nations. In other words, United States, Russia, China, England, and France. Plus one, which was the representative from the European Union. Now, that individual that was the representative from the EU is Federica Mogherini. Now, that individual used to belong to the Italian Communist Party. Subsequently has moved on into, since the death of communism, into an international socialist party in Italy, but still has the same agenda as the Italian Communist Party did. And the other individuals are not any different. For instance, Sergei Lavrov is Russia's foreign minister. He's another ex-communist. Then you've got Wang Yi, the Chinese communist foreign minister. The representatives from England and France are internationalists, and from the United States it is the same with John Kerry and his team, because he is a almost lifelong member of the Council on Foreign Relations, has been in there for decades. And this Council on Foreign Relations is the New World Order crowd. They are the individuals that want to have a one world government under socialism. And all you have to do to go and prove that to yourself is to the website of the Council on Foreign Relations and read their magazine, and look at their seminars, look at their working papers, look at the books that they've produced. They were the main organization behind the establishment of the North American Union, trying to merge the United States, Canada, and Mexico into one country. So Kerry's part of that crowd. So were most of the team that he had there. In addition to that, we see that there's been an endorsement by 60 people in a letter of the Iran deal, which includes former cabinet secretaries, former leaders in the military, also national security advisors, ambassadors, that sort of thing, almost to a man and woman. They're members of the Council on Foreign Relations. And it even gets into the media that's been selling this, the mass media. because too many anchors, too many people that own these stations are members of the Council on Foreign Relations. One of those that's just gushing over it is the CBS News foreign affairs analyst, and that is Pamela Falk. And she is a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. So everywhere you see the pros, so to speak, of this Iranian deal in the United States, they are either CFR members or are working with the CFR in various capacities. So what we see is a situation where we literally, as the American people and as the Congress, have little say over this new treaty. It has to be called a treaty because that's what it is. Just like these trade deals are treaties, but they treat them differently so they can get them implemented. How do we know, for instance, that if the Congress says that they don't want the TPP or the TTIP, that maybe Obama will just say, well, we'll go to the UN and we'll have it ratified there. That's what he's basically doing with the Iranian deal, isn't it? And so we see this coterie of international socialists, communists, and individuals that belong to the New World Order organization, CFR, in our country, promoting something that is going to be very harmful in the long run to our sovereignty by the means it's being ratified, and the safety of not just ourselves, but people in the Middle East. This thing can't work. It probably will never work, never was intended to work. It was just to give a respite to Iran and get them back on their feet to be able to be the center for Russian-led terrorism. It's not Muslim terrorism. It's Russian-led terrorism, unless it comes out of some of the things that we're doing in our own intelligence community by setting up ISIS and other organizations like that, which we are directly responsible for. We have never, ever had an enemy since the end of World War II that our own government has not set up, trained, given influence, given them arms, given them money, so we can fight them down the road. Whether it's Ho Chi Minh, Saddam Hussein, whoever it is, the terrorist organizations, we've helped set them up in many cases. But they've always kind of been run out of Moscow. And if you don't believe that, start doing a little research. Start with sending for my little booklet about terrorism and look at the video that we've put out on terrorism. And you'll see that it's not Muslim terrorism. It's communist terrorism under the disguise of being Muslim. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, we put out a video, it's a video now, but it was a movie originally called Anarchy USA, which documented how the communists took over 3 countries. And those countries were China, Cuba, and Algeria, Northern Africa. And that aspect of terrorism in Northern Africa was made to look Muslim, but it was communist all along. They had the beheadings, they did all the things then that they do now. The reason that the American people didn't see it was because we didn't have the instantaneous videos capability that we have today on the internet and that sort of thing. And so a lot of that communist Muslim terrorism was basically unknown by the American people and forgotten by many of those that did know at the time. So this Iranian deal has a lot of things wrong with it, but it is all within this sphere of international socialism being sold to the American people as a good deal. Keep your eye on it, because this bodes badly for things in the future as to how other treaties may be handled. Until next week, we'll see you then.